If you are still using keyframe for everything in DaVinci, you are making life way harder than it needs to be. These fusion tricks feels illegal and they will save you hours. Let me show you the first one. I used to animate everything with keyframes until I found this. Let's head to DaVinci. Okay, so trick number one is going to be animate without keyframe time expressions. So we are in the edit page. Some of this trick we could actually do in edit page. However, in Fusion, we have more controls and we can refine our animations better in Fusion, especially if you're doing motion graphics. All right, so let's head to Fusion. All right, going to break down our background here, and let's just get an empty canvas here as usual. The best times to use expressions is when we want repetitive animations. All right, so things that have constant motion. So we are going to bring down the text node. Okay, so let's put any random word. Let's say test node. All right, okay, so let's put that to our node tree here, and we have text node here. So let's head to text and let's make this bigger. Okay, now, so we can make a move on the text layout. We are going to use expressions to make our first movement. So what we're going to do here is right click, hit expressions. Okay, guys, so if you know me, you know I always talk about expressions. So I'm going to copy an expressions, and we have to pay attention when we are using the center expressions. You have to remember that they have two parameters, so you have to be careful with it. So I'm going to paste this movement on the Y parameter. On these expressions, you see 0.0505. So the first 05 is for the X, and the second 05 is for the Y. So I'm going to remove the Y here, and I'm going to paste these expressions. Command V, okay, and I'm going to hit enter. So now we got this movement, okay? So it's smooth and it's constant. All right, so you could always change the speed to however you want it to. Okay, so it's multiplied by 0.05. You can multiply it by 0.4. Okay, then the speed reduces. You don't need to put a lot of keyframes for this. You could also achieve this by using modify, but here we're using expressions. Okay, and to make it more interesting, you could also add another expressions on the X parameter. So we're going to do exactly that. So we are going to put another expressions on the X parameter. So let's go copy and expressions. We're going to head to the X parameter and we're going to paste Command V. And now we have some kind of random movements. Again, you could control the speed and you could control the randomness. All right, so it depends on what you want. So let's put 0.2 and we got it's moving like an 8 figure. All right, so it's moving up and down, and it's also moving left to right. Okay, so you have something like this. So let's remove these expressions. Let's reset this. Okay, so let's get a newer one. Again, these are those different expressions that you could Google. All right, so let's hit expressions again, and we are going to copy this one. This is my favorite. It's smoother. So I'm going to copy these and I'm going to paste it on the Y movement. It could be on the X movement, but I'm picking the Y movements. Boom. And you get a subtle movement, okay? And if you want to further customize this, you can add glow. To further customize the glow, you could also add expressions to your glow. Okay, so we're going to do just that. And we are going to head to glow and we're going to hit expressions. And we're going to copy in expressions. Okay, so obviously this is too big. The glow is wild. Okay, so we can reduce the glow to 0.9, which make more sense. 5 is way too much. And now we have something like this. Okay, so the glow is coming and going, ranging from 0 to 0.9. Okay, boom. and you get something like this. Easy. So now this feels alive, and depending on what you want, you got something constant. And the crazy part is, you didn't use no keyframes, simply expressions. With that being said, let's head to trick number 2. Trick number 2 is control randomness. And let's put this to the convert. Let's increase the size. With this effect, although you could achieve this on the edit page, however, the edit page has limitations. We are using, again, expressions. However, we are going to head to shadings, and we are going to use opacity for these expressions. This is going to be like a flicker effect. You could actually achieve this effect using the edit page. However, like I mentioned before, the edit page has limitations. If you're doing motion graphics, you want to know how to use Fusion. All right, so we are going to head to shading, and we are going to head to opacity, and we are going to right click on opacity. So we are going to use randomness function to have that flicker effect. Okay, and we are going to paste it here. Okay, simple, random, 0.3 and 1. All right, what this function is simply picking between 0.3 and 1. We hit enter. So when we play this, it's simply picking between 0.3 and 1, and we're having that flicker effect. Very easy. So what's happening here is every frame has a new random value. That's simply what's going on here. So on the edit page, we could simply head to the text title, and we could search for the flicker effect, and we could drag it to the title. But here in Fusion, we have different controls, and we could further customize it to our own liking. Okay, so here I just did the entire text node. Let's remove the expressions here. Let's say I head over to element number 2 and I enable this. Let's change the text to another color. That'll make more sense. And we are going to make the element number 2 white. Okay, so in Fusion, we could do something like this. We could head to opacity here in element number 2, and we could paste the same formula. And now that flickering is only happening on the strokes instead of the text itself. Okay, so this is one of the advantages of working in Fusion, because now you have this level of control. Okay, so now the glitch is happening just on the strokes. So this is true for every element. You simply have way more control. Okay. All right, so let's remove this. Remove expressions. Let's reduce this. Let's disable this. Okay, let's head back to element number 1 and let's put it back to white. Okay, so let's get one more expressions. Okay, so let's head back to opacity and give it a subtle flickering, paste it. All right, so this is a subtle glitch. So this is basically controlling the base number, limiting the range. So the base number is 0.85. Okay, so it's making it subtle, not going all the way down, not going all the way up. This is no longer as random. It's very much controlled randomness. With that being said, let's head to trick number 3. Trick number 3, audio drives everything. So with this one, I'm not going to spend too much time with this because we did an entire video on this. Check out my last video, all right? But I'm just going to give you a gist of it. Basically, with this one, we're heading back to the edit page. And what we're going to do here is we're going to bring down this music right here. So basically, we are going to be putting markers here based on the beat. All right, so what we're doing is we're going to right click on the music and we're going to click on show beat. Now you can see these markers showing beats. Okay. All right, so this is the same music that I used on my last video. So basically what we're doing is putting markers where we want to have a visual, okay? So it could be every 4 beats. According to my last video, it was every 4 beats. So we just put markers. Okay, let's put another one. 34. Okay, so now we're headed back to Fusion. When you head back to keyframes, we could see those markers. And anytime we animate based on those keyframes. So this is basically the gist of it, all right? So we are going to leave that to the side and we're going to head to the next one. So with example number 4, we are going to go with link any parameters together. All right, so with this one, we're just gonna follow up with the last one. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get a new background, and this background is going to be sort of like our controller, and we are going to bring a test node, and we're going to bring a glow node. Okay, I'm gonna put this here, and we're gonna put something like, let's say, parameter, and text is there. And with this one, we're gonna create our own parameter, which we're gonna use to control the two other nodes. Okay, so we're gonna right click anywhere over here, and we're gonna click on edit control, and we are going to create our own parameter. All right, and we're gonna call that audio level. Okay, we could use numbers, and let's use numbers, make sure it's animatable. Okay, and the range is 0 to 1. Allowable, we're going to also say 0 to maybe 2. Okay, and control is going to be slider control, and good. All right, so now as you can see on the inspector, we have a new page over here on the inspector called the user. So when we head to the user, we now have that parameter called audio level, but right now it's not connected to nothing, so it's just there. Okay, so this is where we're gonna start connecting it to other parameters. So we are gonna copy a formula, and we are going to head to text 3, and we're going to head to size, and we're going to paste that formula. Okay, so again, we need to be careful because the name of the background is background 3, so we're going to head to the background and change that background 1, 2, 3, copy it and paste it. Okay, so now this audio level is linked to the parameter of text size. All right, and the relationship is based on the numbers. Okay, it's based on this formula here. We could also link the parameters to glow, so now we could control both the test size and the glow size, or the glow itself. So on the glow itself, we are going to right click on glow and hit expressions and paste that formula here. So we're gonna make sure that the glow is based on the background 3. I didn't change the background 3. Boom. All right. So now when you head to background and when you change the size, both the text of the size and the glow increases as you increase the audio level. Okay, so now this controls two parameters, from text and from glow. And by the way, you could combine a lot more than 2. So this way you can make life easier by controlling as much parameter as you can. Now for the last but not the least trick, motion trails without no plugins. Let's create ghosting / trailing motion using nothing but duplication and time offsets. All right, so let's head back to DaVinci, and again, we've been using test node this whole time, so we're going to continue to use test node. So we are going to bring our first node, and we are going to put trails here. So we're just going to create 2 more of this same node. So what we're going to do here is we are going to duplicate this. So copy, paste. Okay, we're going to move this in here, paste it again, and move this in here. So we are going to choose the one over here closest to the media out first. So this is the one that is going to be followed. We are going to head to this text here. It's always good to rename it, but we only have 3 nodes here, so we don't need to rename it. So we are going to head to the layout. So we're going to hit our expressions here, and we are going to copy our expressions that we already written down. We are going to paste it here. Okay, so this is based on time, so it's basically going up and down. All right. Basically, we want the rest of them to follow this node here. However, we don't want it to follow at exactly the same point. We just want it to follow it, but with a little bit of time offset. Okay, so it looks like it's trailing it. So that's basically what we're doing here. So what we could do is we could still copy this same formula here, and we are going to go to this node in the middle part. You know what? Let's just rename it. We're going to rename this front. We're going to rename this middle. And we're going to rename this behind. Okay, so we're going to head to the center, hit expressions, and we are going to paste. Okay, and both of them are going to be doing the same thing. However, we could head to time and subtract it by 2. But if we do that, we're going to close parentheses. And if we close parentheses, we also going to open parentheses. The middle one is now trailing the first one, and we're going to head to the behind one, and we're going to do exactly the same thing, except we're just going to delete everything here. We paste it. All right, head to time, -4, close parentheses. So we basically have 2 text trailing the front one, but however it doesn't look as clean here, so we could do further customization here. We could head to the opacity for the middle one. Okay, we go to shading, hit opacity. We could lower the opacity to maybe 4, 5, 4. Hit to the middle one, hit opacity, reduce opacity to something very, very small. Okay, so it's looking a little better. However, we could make it even better. So we're going to add a little bit of a blur. Okay, to the behind one, we could increase the blur just a tiny bit, not too much, where you could still see the spellings. Okay, and we go to the middle one, we can still add blur, but we make the middle one a little bit less than the last one. Something like this. Now it looks like it's trailing. It looks so much better this way. And if you want to make it bigger, you can. But instead of maybe making the individuals bigger, we could simply head to the last one and add transform. Okay, we could make it bigger this way. All right, so we have something that looks like this. So guys, even though I showed you a different way of doing this, that's a node called Motion Trail that can do exactly that. Maybe not in the same detail, but you could achieve some of those with a single node called Motion Trail. Anything that you could build from scratch, you will be able to fine tune it better than when you actually have one node doing it. With all that being said, guys, I've come to the conclusion of this video. If you like what you see, don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will catch you on the next video.